Hi there, it's Kevin Henry. I am the Director of Marketing for Fortune Management, and it's my pleasure today to be joined by Phil Bride, one of our executive coaches out there in the country. Phil, where are you located? And tell us a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Well, hi, Kevin. Thank you. Yes, I live in Oregon,
Okay.
and as you can see in the background, I'm sitting here on a lake in front of Mount St. Helens. Not really, that's just a background. But yeah, in I live in Oregon, and I handle Southwest Washington and throughout Oregon, mostly the I-5 corridor area,
Okay.
Western. And yeah, I've been with Fortune about a year and a half. Although I've been doing business coaching for about 10 years and been working with small and medium-sized businesses um, for about 30 plus years, with helping them develop into high growth companies. Not only in the US, I've been doing it with companies throughout US, Canada, Europe, and Southeast Asia, interestingly enough. It's
Very
fun working with business owners. I just love it.
Well, and obviously we know dentistry as a business is so important that it's viewed that way. So thanks for all you're doing with your clients to ensure that they have a business focus. And I know that's one thing that we want to talk about today is that you've written an ebook and you have some resources out there that are available for your clients. And I know one of the things that you're focused on in the ebook is about a team-driven dental practice. And I
Yes.
love to hear about that. And I'm curious your thoughts because I know, some dentists are very focused on the financial side of things. They're very happy with the way that their production may be, even after COVID-19 has come through. Why is a team-driven practice important in your mind?
Yeah, this is really interesting because it almost doesn't matter which doctor I talk to, which company owner anybody talks to. The story seems to be the same time and time again. It is, how come I can't get my people to really step up the way I want to? How come they're not accountable the way I want them to be accountable? What's going on? We're doing okay, but I find that I'm overwhelmed with all the day in and day out little details that I have to get involved in. That screams a lack of a lack of deep engagement from the employees, from the team members. And that engagement, it's not that they're not engaged, it's that it's that their level of engagement isn't fully team driven. When a company turns its practice, its business into a team driven business, the owner can actually sit back, take a deep breath, and feel confident knowing that his team is really driving forward with the day-to-day activities. It's a
Mm.
beautiful thing. That What that does is it frees the doctor to focus on the clinical side, focus on the things he wants to do, and maybe even improve his short game on the course. Who knows?
Not a bad thing, right?
Not a bad
Absolutely.
thing.
Well, and I've got to ask, is that one thing that you've heard from your clients? Is that why you wrote this ebook, or what was kind of the genesis for you even writing this?
Yeah, it actually was, because time and time again, it's like, we've got a good business going here. We've got a good set of clients, we've got a good set of patients, we are making some good money. It's just sometimes I hate going into work. It's like I'm so done by the end of the week with all the nonsense that I have to put up. And don't get me wrong, I love dentistry, I love helping patients, but it's all the business stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, there is a desperate need to get this information out there. And it's not rocket science. The best teams in the world across all industries do this stuff. It's basic leadership and creating a team. And it's not hard, but it does take diligence, and it does take some effort and focus. And it takes some skill development on the doctor's side and on the team side.
Yeah.
So I wrote this ebook to put together some of the basics to get people jump started. It's like, oh, I can do this. It's not that hard. It's just takes some energy and focus to do.
You know, Phil, one thing that I've heard from dentists so often that is hard is dealing with the drama every day in the
Yeah.
practice and everything that goes on behind the scenes that hopefully the patients never know goes on behind the scenes. And you've heard some dentists, I've heard some dentists say, well, that's just the way it is in my practice and it's never going to change. What do you say to dentists who have kind of unfortunately adopted a mindset of it is what it is and I've just got to deal with it?
Yeah, yeah, that's very common. And it's like kind of giving up to this, but you said it exactly, giving up to this mindset. Turns out that's a false mindset. It does not have to be true. Absolutely does not have to be true. The drama happens when there's basically the drama happens when there's a lack of strong leadership. And leadership is a set of skills. Getting those skills in place with the doctors and then working with the team to get team agreements in place, to get these things in place and working so that everybody is pulling towards the same thing. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not a panacea that makes everything perfect, but it does give you a fighting chance to get rid of the drama, to get rid of the subgrouping, and when it does start to pop up, to put a to put it to bed very quickly and swiftly, and people kind of go, "Oh yes, yes, I see what I did,"
Got it.
and that happens time and time again. The teams that I'm working with, we work on that, and it pops up. People get stressed, people get frustrated, and then some of the drama starts to creep in, and we deal with it. It's about state management. It's about the mindset, the mind game, so
Yeah.
to speak.
And do you find that the mind game is often that we're so focused on the things that make us different rather than, as you said earlier, the things that should pull us together in the practice, kind of working toward that business model?
There is an us versus them that creeps into it. Yes, absolutely. And when we realize that it's really about alignment to a bigger goal, a servant leadership kind of a mindset, as opposed to leadership is a charisma, is which absolutely helps. No two ways about that. However, leadership is really about servant leadership. How do I serve others? And once you start to get out of serving myself and serving and get into serving others, the stuff starts to pull together in amazing ways. Teams start to pull together. This us versus them starts to dissipate, and start to realize that when patients come in and are all cranky, they don't have to ruin the day for everyone.
True.
When they show up late, you get them all set up in a chair, and everything is set, ready to go. You're on schedule, and they go, "Ooh, I have to go to the bathroom." It's like, what?
Yep. Been there, done that. Yep.
It's like, you just, and then they get cranky about it. And it's like, that does not have to ruin your day. And understanding that patients have their stuff that they're dealing with, everybody has their stuff dealing with. Quick story, if I may.
Of course.
Yeah. So this hygienist friend of mine was talking about, she was working in an office, and her best friend, another hygienist in the office, they were working very closely together, were in sync beautifully. And then my friend started noticing that this other gal started being a little bit distant and running off and going somewhere else, and just being a little bit distant and a little bit cranky. And this went on for a couple of weeks. And finally she went and asked her, it's like, what's going on? And she goes, well, I just found out today I'm pregnant. And so I've been dealing with morning sickness, and I didn't know exactly what it was. And it's like, what kind of stories were told during those 2 week period in the
Absolutely.
head? And my friend
Absolutely.
related this, and she knows about the Fortune way of doing things. She knows about team driven, and she still couldn't help it start to tell those inward stories.
It's so much easier for us sometimes to make up our own stories than to dig a little deep and find the truth. I mean, at least she finally asked what was going on instead of just continuing that narrative in her head. That's a good
Well,
thing.
and the gal didn't know either at first. She suspected, but
Yeah,
she wasn't 100% sure. So you never know where the other person is coming from and what they're dealing with.
absolutely. No, that's a great point. I want to go back to something you said a minute ago. You're talking about leadership, and I know so often when leadership is brought up, there's times that dentists kind of their eyes glass over a little bit because
Yeah.
they've always heard about it, but it's something that's kind of esoteric a little bit. Do you view leadership as kind of a management technique, or how do you kind of break that down for your clients when you're discussing leadership?
Yes, a great question, because that's something that scares a lot of business owners, a lot of doctors, a lot of managers for that matter, people that are moving into management. It's like, oh, I'm not really a leader. And yeah, maybe I've read the books, but it seems like too much for me. The reality is it's a set of skills. It's a set of skills and it's a mindset. It's not being charismatic and being able to speak in front of large crowds and get people all pumped up, although that does help and it is a nice thing. I it it, it Strong leadership skills develop across all personality types. We work with the DISC personality profile, and all four primary personality types can be extremely strong leaders, from the completely introvert to the very gregarious and outgoing, to the analytical, to the person who wants just regular, a stable environment. All personality types can be strong leaders, and any personality type can be a weak leader. It's a set of skills that just you work on. You work on communication is probably the biggest. Did you know that Harvard Business Review has done studies on managers across all levels, from top um, Fortune 100 companies down to mom and pop shops and dental practices? They've done studies on it, and communication skills consistently is in the
Hmm.
top three areas that managers of all levels fall down on. They just are not as skilled at communication as they need to be.
I wish I could say that surprised me. But unfortunately, it doesn't. And I think your point about personality types, so often we think, oh, somebody has to be very outgoing and brave and, willing to take the lead. But like you said, anybody can be a leader. It's about the mindset that they have in themselves.
It's about the mindset, and it's about developing the skills of communication, and those are just skills, just simply skills. And it's very straightforward to learn these skills. It's not rocket science. One of the keys in this one, the skill is just a way to get the leadership out and involved with the team. Internally, with the leadership, it's the mindset, and that starts with what is most important to you. What is most important to me? That's not Well, what's most important to me is that I have 2 houses in Guatemala, 4 cars in the garage, and I get to take 4 weeks off every 3 months. Well, okay, how many times did I say me in that statement?
Right.
And I
Yep.
too many times. That's not a vision statement. A vision and values are really about how to be of service to others, the community, patients, the team, everybody out there. And once you start to develop and really clarify your own values, your vision for servant leadership really comes out, and the communication just falls into place if you know the skills. It's a beautiful process. And here's what's so cool about the whole thing. Once that gets developed, people out there want to be aligned, want to be part of something bigger than themselves. They love being around somebody who has an idea of how to make the community better. They love being part of that. They can't wait to get to work and just participate in it. They start solving problems that otherwise would have been a big head scratcher.
Mhm.
Their level of
Yep.
engagement grows deeply. And that's where team driven practices really derive from. It's when it works, when it clicks with doctors and they start to get it, and with the team, it's like magic.
When people are actually excited about coming into work, or they're excited about what they do, man, you can tell those people versus those that are just punching the clock and counting the hours until the weekend starts.
And when you have clock punchers and they put a smile on their face and they talk to patients, trust me, the patients know that they're clock punchers too. That they're a truism that I use all the time, and I've talked about it for many years. It's like you are who you are wherever you are. What your mindset is there, and it comes out, it seeps out in all kinds of ways. I came up old school through Intel and some of the high tech companies. And the mantra there was to compartmentalize personal from professional. In larger companies, it was always compartmentalized. Well, it turns out that's just false. And it's especially wrong. And good luck trying to do that in a small company, in a small practice, because it just is not going to happen. And the more you take on leadership roles, and a business owner, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, is a leadership role. You're in that role.
Absolutely.
You got to get good at it. Take it on. It's not hard. In fact, it's fun once you really start to dive into it.
And you know, one thing I think COVID-19 taught all of us is that we've got to kind of stretch our comfort level and get outside of those boundaries we've had in the past. And that sounds like, to me, this is what it is. It's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and learning that leadership task.
Yeah. In fact, a few years ago, I went through a course. It was called Learning How to Learn. And it was put on by a company called Coursera. And it is aimed at the medical profession on how to get through PhD programs and advanced studies without just stressing yourself beyond belief. And to graduate from the course, I had to do something. So what I did was I put together this how to become an expert, little sequence on how to become an expert at literally anything.
Okay.
And it simply is a sequence. We don't know what we don't know. Then we learn about it, the YouTube thing. We learn about it. And now we know something. And if we're not careful, we fall into the trap of, oh, we know it all and we can do it, just by watching a few YouTube. No, what we really know is what we were introduced to it. And if we're smart about it, we know what we don't know. And then we start the learning process. Once we know what we don't know, we start the learning process and start moving up to getting some levels of proficiency, then becoming skilled, and eventually becoming an expert at it. And that's the process. It's pretty straightforward. We do it time and time again. Leadership is it too.
You know, and one thing I love about Fortune Management, I love about our coaches that are out there like you, is the fact that there's a lot of things that dental practices and dentists are uncomfortable with, but that's where you have this guide, this Sherpa, this coach to help you, navigate that trail and embrace some of the things that maybe you're not the most comfortable with.
Kevin, that is such a good point, because how many people have read books or watched YouTube videos or gone to seminars on this stuff? Pretty much everybody. That doesn't mean they know. So
Right.
I'm going to a big golf tournament tomorrow. But I've never picked up a golf club. I have watched a few, golf games on TV, tournaments on TV. So I'm going to watch some YouTube tonight and go play. Who wants to be on my team?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Probably the same people want to be on my team, to be honest with you. So I get that completely.
Yeah, no, you got to go out and do it. You got to start working it. And yes, you'll have to call some mulligans at times, and you'll biff it at times. You'll find yourself in the trap and in the off
rough
the fairway.
Yeah, of course.
In the rough.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I love about those Oklahoma golf courses I grew up on. All the fairways are pretty much across from each other. So you can play, 4 fairways across and try to hit back. So anyway, hey, Phil, I know we could talk leadership and team-driven practice all day. I know that, but I also know that that's one of the reasons why you wrote this ebook that is a resource out there. And so I want to make sure that people understand where they can go to get this resource, and also to get in touch with you if they've got more questions or want more information.
Yeah, please. I've got this ebook. It's on a website, and the website, if you can capture this, it's Rebrandly. That's rebrand.ly/team-driven practice. And we should also post it, and then I'll also have it on my website as well. Fortune Management, SWWA. Fortune Management, all spelled out. SWWA, Southwest Washington
There you
.com.
go. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah, lots of different ways to get a hold of Phil, and obviously we want to make sure that people have this the ability to get this resource as well, because I know you put a lot of time into it, and it's also baked with a lot of information that you've gleaned from working with practices in the past.
Oh, yeah, it's actually it's gleaned from the work with through my whole career with all kinds of business owners and doctors and practices and teams. It's like, yes, this stuff transcends. It's just part of business. It's just part of business, and it's the best teams in the world can do it, and anybody, it's open to anybody that wants to do it, and the best teams often produce the best business and financial results for the doctor. If he wants more profit, you don't just talk about profit all the time. You talk about creating a team-driven practice and have everybody get a win-win-win situation. Win for the doctor, win for the team, win for the patients, and it will come.
Love it. And obviously excited to see how this ebook's going to help practices out there become that team driven practice. So Phil, thanks so
Yes.
much for the time.
May I, yeah, what I'd like to do is give the title of the ebook.
Oh,
So
of
the
course.
title is Breathe. Breathe. Know your dental practice is in good hands. Follow these 5 easy steps to get a team-driven practice. So there is something to be said about being able to sit back, take a breath, and have the confidence knowing it's in good hands.
Man, taking that deep breath and feeling like everything is okay, that's worth its weight in gold right there for sure. So
Yes.
all right. Well, Phil, thanks for the time. Thanks for your expertise, and thanks for what you're doing with those clients out there in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, well, Kevin, I appreciate it. You have a
Absolutely.
wonderful day.
All right. We'll talk soon. Thank you.
Okay, bye.